Well, van life has been a thing for decades, long time in here in the US and in other countries as well. It used to be really niche. There weren't that many people did it. And in recent years, last, 5, 10 years, it's grown in popularity a lot. I've been doing this full time for 10 plus years now, and I for sure have seen an increase. Not so much the first couple years, but especially maybe about 8 years ago, I started seeing a big increase, and it seems to have grown every year since then. It's just exploded in popularity. That really accelerated around the time of the pandemic and the first few years of that. Why the big explosion in popularity? There's probably a few reasons. One for sure is just a skyrocketing cost of living. Is not just housing. Housing is catastrophically up, and I don't even have to throw numbers at you for you to know that, because wherever you live, housing's gotten a lot more expensive. It's more difficult to make a living, to make ends meet. But it's everything. It's not just housing. Housing is just a big one, so it makes it a tempting target. Hey, if we can knock out our biggest monthly expense, which for most people is housing, then you have a lot more money to go around, as you have an easier time making ends meet. Another reason is Insta-Worthy social media, we'll call it. There's just so much amazing scenes put online on various social media and on YouTube. I do it myself. I share some of my favorite photos and video clips from the places we visit, wildlife, just natural scenery. And so what I don't share quite as often is all the boring parts of life. Not to be deceptive or anything else. It's just, that's not quite worth sharing, right? So if that's all you see is the Insta-worthy social media stuff, you can start to think after a while that it's always like that. And I think there's also, if we're honest, just an overall dissatisfaction with modern life. There's a lot that goes into that, and I don't think van life or an RV life or anything else is going to necessarily fix all of that, but for some people it is a step in the right direction. I think there's a lot to that, though, and that's a topic for another video. So in this video, and I'm talking about van life or RV life or nomadic life or the traveling lifestyle or whatever, I'm kind of using those terms interchangeably, so I don't want to have to say the same thing over and over again. You don't want to listen to me say it over and over again. And I should note before we dive into these myths, I've got 9 of them I'm going to cover in this video based on my experience as a nomad, for a traveler for more than a decade, and as somebody who works in this space for a living. So I've seen a lot, heard a lot. Before I dive into that, I just want to say that I am not trying to talk anyone into or out of van life or a nomadic lifestyle. I don't get paid. I don't make money. I get nothing out of if you were watching this, you decide to become a nomad or to not become a nomad. I'm purely trying to share good information, accurate information, so that you can make the best decision for yourself, whether this is something that might work for you and is something you want to try. So myth number 1, van life is cheaper. This one gets, it's out there a lot. You've surely heard it. Is van life really cheaper than traditional housing? It depends. But in many cases, yes, it is. Most people probably find that it is cheaper. I have certainly heard more than a few stories of people who tried it out, and they tried to, they did it in such a way that they found it to be every bit as expensive or even more expensive than living in a traditional house. If you're paying to stay in RV parks or resorts every night, if you're paying to go out to restaurants a lot, if you're driving expensive vehicles that you've had to finance, and you're making heavy payments on your vehicles and your insurance payments and everything else, you had to say you own all the tourist attractions as you travel. Yes, you can spend every bit as much as you would spend in a house, maybe more, because you're kind of living like you're on vacation at that point. If you approach it as, well, a lifestyle, for one, you're just living, but especially if you approach it as some of us do, as we're going on a long camping trip, you can live very cheaply as a nomad or as a van lifer. So it is definitely possible. I think most people find it's cheaper. It's definitely possible for it to be cheaper, but it's also possible, depending how you do it, to spend as much or more, in which case the van life being cheaper might be a myth for you. Second myth, van life until death. Well, maybe, but the longer here's the bottom line, the real key here. The longer you live, the less likely it becomes that you're going to be able to continue doing the van life thing or the RV life thing, because it becomes more and more difficult to maintain that as you get older and as physical issues develop, health problems, health limitation, physical limitations, these kind of things. So if you're blessed with a long life, the longer you live, the less likely it becomes that you're going to be able to or willing to continue doing this. The bottom line is that health issues may very well force you off the road. I have a whole video coming up on this topic that's going to be dropping very soon, so watch for that. Myth number 3, I think we're on number 3. Yeah, we're on number 3. Van life, I should have numbered them. Van life is less stressful. Sometimes van life can be less stressful. When everything's going right, it can be a very relaxed, very enjoyable pace of life that feels less stressful than trying to live in the modern, busy world. On the other hand, when everything seems to be going wrong, when your vehicle's acting up, you can't find anybody that wants to work on it, or you can't afford to get it worked on, or you can't find anybody to work on it and let you sleep in it in the parking lot while they wait to get it in, or in between trips into the shop, and you're looking at having to get a hotel room at $150 a night, or whatever it costs in the area you have to be broke down in. It can be pretty stressful. When you're exhausted, you did a long day of travel, and that place you thought you were going to camp isn't available, it's packed, or it's been closed, or the ground is turned to mud because of recent rain, you can't get in, or it is a surprise snowstorm, or it's icy, all kinds of things come up. You can't get to camp where you're going to camp, or you just can't find places to camp. It can become very stressful. So there's all kinds of things that can come up where, van life all of a sudden, RV life, nomad life is all of a sudden very stressful. There's an idea that van life allows you to go anywhere, anytime. Well, yes and no. It can be a myth again. Fuel costs. I mean, let's face it, gas has come down. Here in Wyoming, where I'm at right now this summer, gas is down about 50 cents a gallon from its peak a few months ago. It's still high. And from my experience, for example, as I've done this longer, I've kind of ended up in bigger vehicles for a few different reasons. That means the fuel efficiency is lower, so I average about 12 miles a gallon, 14 miles a gallon if I'm lucky. So I used to travel in vehicles that got 26 to 28 up to 40 plus. And fuel costs were cheaper. So it costs a lot more money for me to drive somewhere anymore. A lot of people are getting pinched by the same thing. So fuel costs mean you maybe can't go anywhere anytime because you just can't afford to, or you're not willing to spend the money for fuel. Vehicle maintenance and repairs. If you got to spend on repairs or on regular maintenance, that may mess up your fuel budget, it may mess up your travel budget, or you may just be stuck somewhere waiting until you can get something fixed or maintained before you can travel again. So that may affect you. Health concerns, whether that's medical appointments or prescriptions you need to get filled or refilled, whatever the case may be, these things come up, and sometimes you're stuck waiting to get to see a provider or waiting to get to get your medications filled or whatever. Weather conditions, you hear a lot about chasing 70. It doesn't always work, but even when sometimes you're stuck somewhere and there's a unpleasant weather system, maybe even a dangerous to drive in weather system between you and where you'd like to go. So you're stuck waiting. So you can't just go wherever you want, whenever you want. And there's camping restrictions. There's limited availability. There may be only so many sites and it's a popular spot, or there's a spike in activity at the moment you didn't know about. There's some event you weren't aware of and everything's full, or closed areas, boondocking areas. We've been seeing more and more and more of this over the years with areas closed, BLM, Forest Service, other public lands, where most of the time what it comes down to, unfortunately, is people have been overusing it, overstaying their welcome, and or they've been trashing the public lands, and it gets shut down. That's what happens to it. It's you might say they should send more rangers out to enforce it. That's generally not what they do. They just shut it down. So all these reasons, it could end up being a myth that van life allows you to go anytime. Healthcare and administrative logistics are simple on the road. Well, that can be a myth too. In most cases, these things are manageable and solvable, but they're not always easy. They're not always simple. It just depends on your situation and on your circumstances. So I have a whole video coming up very soon on the whole domicile question, and we'll address some of these issues in more detail there. I don't want to make this video an hour long, so we're not diving too deep on all these things here. But healthcare, so for example, you may need access to doctors, and especially if you need access to specialists, medication refills we mentioned earlier. Sometimes this affects where you can travel, when you can travel. It may leave you tied to a home base more than you might like, whether it's the home base you started from or it's a different home base you set up and move all your doctor's stuff to. Sometimes you just got to be somewhere to get the health care that you need and to get medications and what treatments, whatever that you need. The whole domicile thing, mail and mail forwarding, banking, vehicle registration and insurance, all this stuff can get complicated. For some people, they find a pretty easy solution depending on their circumstances. Other people find it a lot more challenging. Again, in most cases, it's manageable and solvable, but it just varies how complicated it is or how simple it is. So, some people get jammed up on this and it causes them a lot of grief trying to get it sorted out. So all this stuff, that is simple on the road, that may be a myth for a lot of people. Every day starts and or ends at an Insta-Worthy location. Well, I only wish this were true. To be sure, I have camped and gone to bed in some amazing locations and woken up with amazing locations, amazing sunsets, sunrises, whatever. It's been fantastic, wildlife, whatever else, right? It does happen for sure, but it's not every day. Sometimes van life, RV life, nomadic lifestyle is just nowhere near so glamorous or picturesque as we might all like it to be. So that can be a myth that every day starts and ends in an Insta-Worthy location. How about van life eliminating housework? Well, no. I do housework every single day, house chores every single day. That doesn't go away. Now, admittedly, my house is much smaller than a lot of traditional, pretty much just about any traditional housing these days. We're in the era of McMansions, but, my house would fit into most rooms in a traditional house these days. But so it's smaller, so that helps, but it's still many tasks in off-grid living. Many tasks just take longer than they would in a traditional house. We trade off some conveniences for more freedom and more cost savings. So it can be cheaper and more free, but it comes at a cost of some things taking longer. So there are not too many people, for example, traveling off-grid in vehicles who have washers and dryers in their vehicles. So if you want to wash laundry, you got to hand wash it, or you got to load it up and go somewhere. Now, I know some people live in apartments and have to do that too, but a lot of people in a house, if you're watching this, you're like, I got a washer and dryer, and it's convenient. And so that's just one example where something that you could throw some laundry and do something else and not think about it till the buzzer goes off. Now you have to think about it, and it's going to take up half your day to go do some laundry, or you're going to hand wash it, which takes time, and you're using up precious water, and you're counting every gallon you put in. I promise you, when I hand wash laundry when I'm off grid, it makes me sick that I have to use a gallon or especially 2 gallons of water to wash laundry, because that's limited supply. And the sooner I run out of water, the sooner I have to go back into town and leave my camp and go find some more water. So lots of things just take longer when you're off grid, but it is smaller, but you still end up doing housework. That doesn't go away. Vehicle maintenance is only a minor inconvenience. We kind of touched on this a bit, but vehicle maintenance and repairs are annoying up to maybe critical if you live in a house. But if your vehicle breaks down, you still have a place to live. And if you're living in a vehicle, when your vehicle breaks down, it becomes a problem, because now your house is going in the shop. And that can become a real problem. Hopefully it's infrequent. Hopefully you had a good, reliable vehicle. This doesn't happen too often. You still have to maintain it, but hopefully you can plan those things so it's not too much of an inconvenience. But stuff's going to break eventually. I did a whole video about this real recently, so I'll link to that for you if you want to check that out. And finally, nomad life means an end to loneliness. While many people do find new and meaningful friendships in the nomadic lifestyle, especially within the first year, plus or minus, but it still takes time to meet your tribe, and you'll still sometimes be alone. You might be alone till you meet some people to hang out with, and you're still going to be alone because everybody has their own life and they're traveling different places, or they're going to see some family or friends, or they have some work commitments. A lot of nomads work part-time, or they work in seasonal jobs part of the year. I'm a digital nomad, so I kind of work where I go, but I still have to think about that. So you're still going to be alone sometimes. And it brings to mind this thing as truism about wherever you go, there you are. So if you're not comfortable in your own skin and keeping your own company in a house, you're probably still not going to be comfortable in your own skin keeping your own company living in a vehicle. It is true that many people find meaningful relationships as nomads. It's just kind of a different pace of life a lot of times, so that can happen. But if you're banking on that, you might end up figuring out that this is a myth too. Well, these are 9 things that I have certainly discovered to be at least sometimes myths in my decade plus of van life and nomadic life and RV life. I've kind of done it all, from a car to a trailer to vans to minivan to cargo trailer to travel trailer to box truck now. So kind of done it all. These are things I found at least sometimes to be myths. I would love to know your experience if you're doing this, or what do you think? Are there other myths you've run into that just wasn't quite like you expected with the nomadic or traveling lifestyle?